Since 1950, Sebring International Raceway has been testing sports car drivers from around the world, including those fortunate enough to be racing Ferraris. It tests their abilities to tame its vicious bumps and myriad challenges, and perhaps no better car exists to pass those tests than the glorious Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. And those who pilot these stunning machines relish each moment. Welcome to the penultimate round of the 2020 Ferrari Challenge North America Championship. Welcome to the final races of the season on North American soil. Welcome to Sebring. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer. Great to have you with us. I will be joined, of course, by Katie Osborne down in the pits, and might even make an appearance or two up in the booth with us as these races unfold today. Great to have you with us. It is time for Trofeo Pirelli AM, and Coppa Shell. Those three categories are on track, getting ready for the start of their second race of these doubleheader weekends. Again, the three categories delineated purely by driver rating. Every one of them gets to drive these glorious Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo machines. Just remarkable, as is the schedule. Look at what they were able to put together in this bizarre year. We ran at Daytona, then rode Atlanta, Indianapolis, Circuit of the Americas, Laguna Seca, and now the legendary sports car mecca of Sebring, with the Finale Mondiale coming up in a few weeks in early November in Italy at Misano World Circuit. Just a remarkable schedule to be able to put together. If you're not familiar with where Sebring is located, South Central Florida, and I mean central, just about middle of the state. And we are dealing with the weather you might expect, with all those bodies of water on both sides and a big lake right near here. It is warm today. It is humid today. And we are kind of on edge here a little bit, because one thing you never know about this area is weather. We do know this track is something else. 17 turns, 3.74 miles. It has very technical sections. As you can see, it has a lot of very fast sections, and it is notoriously bumpy, especially in this corner, turn 14 here, or turn 17 here, Sunset Bend. Just remarkably bumpy, and also in turn 1, but a lot of bumps in other areas of this track as well. There is a look, and the key component there, 80% humidity. The temperature at this stage is mid-80s. Real feel is up into mid-90s, but that humidity is the question, and whether we are going to get rain or not. One thing that's not in question is that Katie is ready to give us some great information from down on the grid. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Greg. Well, what I can tell you is that the weather down here is something else. It's very Florida. Right in front of me, it's blue skies. Directly behind me, you can see that there's gray clouds. Of course, these drivers are all thinking, what's the setup? What's the strategy? How is this going to play out? Is it going to be rinse and repeat from what we had in yesterday's round? Enzo Picalillo, he's one of those guys who hopes that it's a rinse and repeat. He didn't qualify as well as he wanted yesterday. Today, his focus in qualifying was race setup. He ended up on top of the box yesterday, his first race since 2012 here in Ferrari Challenge. Talked to him a little bit earlier, and to him, today is all about winning. It's been since 2012 that Enzo Picalillo has been in Ferrari Challenge. He took home his first win at Sebring in round 11, and now he qualified second. But your qualification wasn't really about qualifying. There's a little bit more. Tell us what qualifying was all about.
Yeah, we're really trying to catch up with Cooper, right? He's been running the series with the 48 for 3 seasons now, so he definitely has an advantage of knowledge of what the car likes to do or not to do. So I need to adapt my driving style to what this car in particular wants to do. And so this qualifying, my goal was just to be P2, but we were trying a different setup to see if it worked better or not. It did not, so we'll go back to yesterday's setup. That's the best we have done in the dry also. So we'll see if we can race him. I mean, new tire pace is one thing. Used tire pace for the race in 30 minutes will be something different. I think I do have a good pace to race him, so we'll see.
You had a good pace. You've had a lot of experience. And actually, the story between you and Cooper MacNeil goes back quite a few years as well. What's the relationship like that you guys have?
No, it's great. I mean, he's a young kid. I mean, when I raced him in 2012, he was really young and starting. I won the championship in 11 and in 12, and when I got out, he kept on racing. So he's doing a lot of driving now. So it was hard, to come back after so many years and beat him. Yesterday, I think I had an advantage on, an experience maybe in the wet or something. I think also my car I managed my tires better than he did. I think he overcooked his tires a little bit soon. But, I mean, he's doing great, right? Cooper's doing a great job. you know, his dad is passionate about it. The whole family is passionate about racing. So good for him. And I'm just trying to catch up.
You know, he told me that you were the guy to beat, and he's always looked up to you, especially since you guys started to know one another back in 2011. And as it relates to Ferrari Challenge, welcome back. We're glad to have you. Couple quick words on why the series.
Well, I've been, you know, I'm a passionate Ferrari collector and enthusiast, and Ferrari it's a great brand, great support. This series is unbelievable, and it's also less stress. I did a lot of professional racing, and you know, endurance and driver changes and pit stops and all this. This sprint races are fun for me.
Yeah.
It's more about enjoying with family. My kids are here. Well, my kids, they're old now, right? But my kids are here enjoying the weekend, and we just have a lot of fun doing this, and happy to be part of the Ferrari family.
Thank you, and thank you for your time. Wishing you the best out there, and he's looking for his second win of the 2020 season.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of announcing him for a few years in some of those pro races as well, and he's a really top-tier AM driver, definitely an AM driver, but he, in terms of he doesn't do this for a living, obviously, but he can get the job done, and we saw that yesterday because he had to adapt to conditions, and he did it absolutely beautifully, and this track demands it, and it also demands a good up-close look from the driver's perspective. And earlier in the weekend, the points leader in Coppa Shell Am was kind enough to give us an onboard lap around this legendary circuit. Enjoy.
Hi, my name's Justin Wetherell, and welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Let's go for a hot lap in the Ferrari Central Florida 199 488 Challenge Evo car. Here we are at Sebring International Raceway in Sebring, Florida, kicking off a hot lap. You want to carry that full throttle just past the bridge here into turn 1 and start to apply the brakes and turn the car in. The goal here is to get it tight into the corner so that your car is just under that sign to the left. Opening it up back again, pretty hairy through there when you're really on it. Down here into turn 3, down into third gear, through turn 4, trying to make that as straight as possible. Right around turn 5, trying to get to throttle as early as possible, as you will carry all that speed all the way down around Big Bend in turn 6 and onto the hairpin coming up here in turn 7. A really great opportunity to pass during the race. So you're braking at the 400 marker, opening up your hands to get the steering wheel open so you can apply throttle as quickly as possible. Full throttle here through 8, 9, and coming up to 10 where there will be hard braking and a right-hand turn. Down here to third gear, trying to end up in the middle of the road, heading through Collier Corner in turns 10 and 11, trying to keep that as flat out as possible depending on kind of the tire wear during the race. Down at the tower turn here in turn 13, down to third gear, trying to hit that apex, and again, open up your hands to get the throttle as quickly as possible. Bishop Bend, one of the more exciting parts of the track, 2 left-handers back to back. You're going to do those turns flat out again and try to line the car up as far to the left as possible coming into turn 15, which is a fast right-hander. You're going to try to ride that curb, straighten it out as much as possible, and get back to power. Heading into turn 16, you're going to open that up just a little bit by inching off what looks to be the course so that you can get to power as quickly as possible and carry that power all the way down that back straight, reaching speeds in excess of 165 miles an hour. Want to start it out just to the left of that blue dot where the road isn't as bumpy, and open up your hands as quickly as possible so that you can apply full throttle down this long front straight. And that was a lap here at Sebring International Raceway.
Big thanks to Justin for that, and you can see all of the challenges this track presents over its 3 3/4 miles essentially. So we are ready to get this one going, and let's get right back down to Katie for that special command.
Drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
All right. Giving that command and enjoying every moment of it, obviously, and the field is getting ready to go. We'll be paced for this pace lap by that glorious F8 Tributo you see there with the light panel on top flashing. It is a road car that is sort of the next evolution of the 488 GT road car, and it is born from a lot of what has been gleaned from these 488 Challenge cars in the Evo package. It is a remarkable machine, and just fortunate to have it as the official vehicle here. As this field, once again, 3 different categories setting out. Again, all the cars the same, But the three categories, the Trofeo Pirelli for the most experienced drivers who maybe have the best pace, then the Trofeo Pirelli AM, the drivers that are almost there but not quite. And so they run in the AM division. Then the Coppa Shell is for the lesser experienced drivers, and in terms of maybe not quite having the pace of the other drivers. And there's an AM component to that that's been huge in terms of entry, so it runs by itself. So we've got three different categories racing here, and they are out and underway on their lap. Here come the Coppa Shell machines. They'll start a bit farther back. And one of the qualifiers in this one, Jay Schreibman, who put it on pole, did it with a lap that moved him right up into the mix of the Trofeo Pirelli AM machines. An absolutely brilliant qualifying lap. And let's take a look now at the starting lineup. And you take a look at row number 1, Cooper MacNeil, who has just been yesterday clinched his 3rd consecutive championship. What a remarkable story for him in the Ferrari Westlake entry, joined by Enzo Potalicchio for Ferrari of Central Florida, yesterday's winner. Take a look at row 2. It's Ross West, Boardwalk Ferrari, and Amir Kermani, welcoming him back from Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale. Row 3, Jordan Workman, Ferrari of Central Florida, the young 21-year-old, and Brent Holden, Ferrari of Newport Beach, pole sitter in Trofeo Pirelli AM. Jason McCarthy, Wide World Ferrari, and Dave Musial, Ferrari of Lake Forest. Row 5, Jean-Claude Sada, Boardwalk Ferrari, and Claude Centeretti, Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale. Row 6, Jay Schreibman, as I said, on pole in the Coppa Shell category, along with Jim Booth alongside Brad Horseman in row 7, Ferrari Foreign Cars Italia, and he is joined by Ian Campbell. And then we have Kevin Milstein in the number 138 entry from Ferrari of San Diego, and Claude Centeretti, the 51 of Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale entry, and then Paul Keebler, the 122 Collie Ferrari of Detroit. There is a look at the 138 of Kevin Milstein. And Kevin missed the opening 2 races at Daytona, then went on a tear, winning a number of races. He has 4 wins on the season, but in the last couple of rounds, he's been tamed just a little bit. Hasn't had quite the performances he would like. And to get himself back up into this championship, he really needs a strong run here. This Coppa Shell category, top 6 right now covered by, or top 3, jumping ahead here, top 3 covered by but 6 points. Booth, Horseman, and Milstein, it just couldn't be closer than that. And there's a look at Jim Booth, who is the points leader. However, he will be second in the starting lineup to Jay Schreibman, that Collie Ferrari Detroit lap. He did it right at the end, his last lap, and found a bunch of time and ended up 4/10 clear of the rest of the field. There's Jay, that red Ferrari with that white nose. Then here comes Booth, then Horseman, and that gray and black scheme on that car, absolutely stunning. And right behind him, the 155 of Campbell, then Milstein, and then Keebler. And here is that group up at the front, led that white Ferrari of Cooper MacNeil with the WeatherTech on it from Ferrari Westlake, and Enzo Potalicchio right alongside for Ferrari of Central Florida running. He's always when he's been running his own team, it's been called 8-Star Motorsports, and he's always run orange. And even though he's being fielded here for Ferrari of Central Florida, honoring that graphic scheme, and here we go. 30 minutes of competition, warm afternoon, not quite as warm as yesterday, that's the good news. And so far, weather is holding off while that humidity remains really high. The F8 Tributo is going to make its way in. Beautiful drone shot as Cooper now leads the field up and looking for the green flag to kick off this 30 minutes of competition, and there it is. And immediately Enzo ducks in behind Cooper, trying to dissuade anybody from trying anything. Amir Kermani in the yellow Ferrari tries to go with him. West down to the inside, side by side through 1. Amir floats out a little wide. He's got to gather it up. They are still side by side. Finally, West in the red Ferrari slots into 3rd with Kermani right there as well. And already Cooper has opened up just that little bit of a margin. Here is the start for Coppa Shell. The green flag flies as they hammer down into turn 1. Schreibman on the inside. Booth with the golden arches on that car. He opens the wheel up. Horseman looks to the inside. Booth again floats just a smidge wide. And then Booth decided to try and cut underneath Schreibman, thinking he could make that move, and it also was a very effective defense on Horseman. But things settle now, so Schreibman, and Jean-Claude Sada, a problem early. Looks like that right rear corner may have an issue with it, so maybe there was some contact in the field, and that is terrible news for Jean-Claude, as he is right in this points championship. He was only 3 points behind David Musial, and to see him parked on the side of the road, that is a brutal break for him here as we go back to this battle now for second in Trofeo Pirelli as Cooper MacNeil easing away. And this Cooper's MO here, when we've had him racing in this championship, is to open up a big lead and just let things settle, and he's doing it here. Yesterday in the wet, they weren't quite right on the setup on his car. Enzo's team had that car dialed, and Enzo quickly got to the back of Cooper, found a way through. And you can just see Cooper's car not working that well, slipping and sliding. He said afterwards, yeah, our pressures were just too high, and that will torture your tires. But right now, he is opening up that margin. And Katie has joined me in the booth now. And Katie, we're watching Potolicchio as he heads down into turn 17. And this is where you find out if that approach to the qualifying to focus more on race setup is going to pay off.
Absolutely.
Oh, and we have a caution. Sorry, that has come out. And I'm pretty sure that's because of Jean-Claude Sada's car. And there it is. And look at that. You can see the dejection. He didn't have a great qualifying run, Katie. Started farther back than he would have liked. And now to have this happen early is just a gut punch to Jean-Claude.
No doubt about that. I mean, I think that's something that he, even coming off of Laguna Seca, you knew that he wanted to perform better. And I remember talking to his team during some of the qualifying there, and they just said he had to get his head in his game, and he will perform. And so I think another disappointing weekend for him. That is not how he wants to finish out 2020.
Well, he certainly has the capability and the speed. We've seen him earlier in the year. Jean-Claude has put up some serious numbers here. We'll talk about that in a minute. And you can see there's a car there with damage. It looks like it might be Musial's car with damage to that left rear. Let's see what happened. Watch for it as they head into turn 1. Jean-Claude, you can see him right in the back of this queue. Watch as they funnel through. There's Jean-Claude, there's Musial, and then there's the touch right there. Yep. And you can see right away it broke the suspension on Jean-Claude's car. And boy, he was really fortunate when he came back on track that he didn't collect anybody else. So Musial's car has some damage to it, but Jean-Claude's car, bad enough it broke, and he's done.
That's a disappointing day for him. But Dave Musial, on the other hand, knows that he is continuing to stretch out his points lead, or at least that's his hope. I talked to him after qualifying, and he said that grab as many points as he can and do as well as the team has set up the car to do. That's all he can do.
That's it. I mean, maximize what you have in terms of a race car. And in that contact, it's ironic, of course, it's the two guys that are battling for the championship that were only 3 points apart when this race started, that those two are the ones that came together. And for Musial, I in no way do I think that Dave moved over in any kind of an aggressive posture into Jean-Claude. I think Dave thought he had a run on the car in front of him. And so I don't think he even realized Jean-Claude maybe was on his shoulder like that and moved over to try and get the run up into turn 3, which you can do an overtake on if you get a good run out of 1. And it's just unfortunate how that unfolded. And now Dave is going to have to be dealing with the aero deficit of the damage to the back of that car. And you can see he's had his hand out because his mirror was deranged a little bit as well. So he's trying to get that to straighten out. And you got that bodywork flapping at the back like that, Katie. If it's up just above the wheel arch, it's not a huge deal. But when it's down low like that, it does help channel air out from underneath the back of the car, and that can affect the handling.
Well, and one thing I wanted to ask, which is, how is a track like Sebring set up so that if your car isn't perfect, how much will that play into the race?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
It is a track where you need your car to work. And what happens is if you've got an issue at the back of the car that's going to affect a little bit of the downforce at the back, particularly with these Evo cars, one change they made is they put a little bit more downforce on the front than the previous car. Needed it to balance it, but now you could have a car where you got a lot more stick on the front and you're spilling air from those little diffusers. You can see right there on the back of Jason McCarthy's car, those little diffusers at the back. If that damage to Musial's has affected that, then it's not going to be as effective on the back of the car. And the other concern is, of course, while it's flailing around back there, is does it come through and cut a tire? Does it come off, affect another competitor? So the officials will be watching that really closely.
No doubt about that. Well, one guy that wants that championship, and that's Dave.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And he and Jean-Claude were having a fabulous battle. And again, it's just an unfortunate irony for what happened there. The interesting thing to me is, Brent Holden had that great qualifying run once again. And by the end of that first lap, he'd slipped to fourth. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but McCarthy, Senoretti, and Musial went by. And Senoretti is the story there. He had qualified really off pace, was at the very back of that group, and just made a stunner of a start and jumped up into second behind McCarthy with Musial and then Holden. And then, of course, Sada with his issues. There is a look at the number 51 of Senoretti, and that was just a rocket start. And do keep in mind, yesterday, when McCarthy got to the lead in that wet to dry race, in terms of track conditions, McCarthy got to the front, checked out early. Senoretti at the end was the fastest car on the track and ended up setting fast lap of the race in that charge as well. And so
how much of that is tire management?
Well, it can be, a lot of that can be, if you realize, all right, we've got an aggressive setup on the car, and if I go hard on these wets as the track's drying, I'm going to torture them. So you exercise patience, very difficult thing for a race driver to do. You save those tires, and everybody else goes out and runs them off a little bit. And then Cloud seriously had something to fight with near the end of that. It'll be interesting to see now if it obviously the weather cooperates in what he has just in a straight heads-up battle against Jason in these good conditions right now.
One thing that you mentioned was patience, and in talking to Jay Schreibman, the driver of the 163, that was what he said is the key to today's race. Patience, patience, patience. And oftentimes, I have found in my experience, race car drivers are not always the most patient. I don't know about your experience, but that's something they have to be. And he's right now leading that Coppa Shell class, and obviously that's something that where he wants to be. Well,
and that's something that as you're a driver and you're working your way up, like you might be here in Ferrari Challenge, that's something you're going to learn, because the great drivers, when they need it, can exhibit exceptional patience. And I think that's something that could play into Enzo's hands today, and maybe even Cooper's, because both of them have done a lot of racing in pro endurance style racing, where tire management is big, and you've got to take care of it. And you talked about it yesterday. In the aggregate mix of this track, on a lot of it, there are seashells. And, when you break a seashell, you get those really hard edges, and it can chew up a tires here. So it's a lot you have to be paying close attention to. Look at the color of those skies in the background here. And the F8 Tributo has eased away and is heading into pit lane, and Cooper, wasting no time, gets on the hammer right away. He wants to get a jump on Potolicchio. And I'll tell you, the guy who had a really good restart as well was Roche West, that red Ferrari in third, and Kermani right behind him. But Cooper got that little bit of a gap. Oh, here comes Kermani taking a look down to the inside. And you've got to be a lot farther along that car. It's such a fast, long-duration corner. You've got to be a lot farther along the guy, or he's just going to ramp around the outside like you see there. Here's that battle between McCarthy and that multicolored machine right there, center of your screen, and right behind him, Senoretti. In that red and white Ferrari as well. That's the battle for the lead in Trofeo Pirelli AM.
Well, of course, Jason McCarthy having that incredible run yesterday. He really showed that he has a quick car, and they all came together here this weekend, both with setup, his team, and himself. So we'll see if that's something he can put together again today, as it looks like he's doing he's capable of that right now.
Absolutely. Well, got to the front right away, and you can see there's Holden, who somehow slipped from first to fourth. And he is right on the rear deck right now, Musial, and that's a deck that's dancing right in front of him. And, I don't think that's not going to be a distraction for Brent. He's not going to let that happen. But what it is a concern in case, for some reason, it should come off and he's right on top of it. And he gets under a wheel in a high-speed section of track, and it can force you to skate off a little bit.
Yeah. Well, then you have Jim Booth there with those golden arches. He's a guy who's been consistent all season long, and he attributes a lot of his success here this season to consistency, in fact. And that consistency is now allowing him to have confidence in the car, as he's right now doing what he can to continue to catch up with Jay Schreibman, who is on fire right now.
I think he and Horseman may have gone by Jay on that restart. We were watching it at the very front, but I think that Schreibman's car now third in line, so that might mean that Booth has gone to the lead on the restart, and that Horseman right there has gone with him. And the next car behind those guys, I think, is going to be Schreibman.
You
go back
right.
to this battle here. There is Kermani in that bright yellow machine, and young 21-year-old Jordan Workman in that black Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo right behind him. And what a learning curve Jordan has had this year and he's climbed that ladder beautifully.
No doubt about it. What I thought was really fascinating is just within his generation, the iRacing, the sim racing, we talked about it in Laguna Seca. That's actually how he became familiar with Laguna Seca, is sim. And you can see without having experience in the past, it's paying off.
It is. I mean, Amir Kermani, ran a partial championship last year, and nice to have him back in it here. And right now, Jordan Workman right there at the back of that, just behind that bright yellow machine, that all black Ferrari's doing a nice job. And this is Jordan's first year racing competitively, door to door in anything. He's done lots of high-speed lapping as a test and development driver for aftermarket parts package company and some other lapping stuff. But he is doing a stellar job right now. And there's Booth. There comes Horseman, and indeed Schreibman. We didn't see that restart for the Coppa Shell machines, but he may have got snookered, just didn't get on the power at the right time. And there he is now with a mirror full of Milstein.
Milstein is another one where Kevin's team has talked highly of the seat time that he's received recently and the confidence that he's been building as a driver. And the team has said he's a pleasure to work with as well.
Well, he missed the opening rounds, and yet at one point he was leading in the championship, and it was because when he started his season at Road Atlanta, he went on just a run of wins and quickly built up points and got himself in a position to be able to really contend for this championship. And then he's had at Laguna not a bad weekend, but not a great one. And then yesterday he just wasn't quite there, so he really wants to put something together here. And the problem for him, as you take a look at the run order right now and you compare it to the points, Jim Booth, who leads the points, leads now, and Milstein sits back in fourth, while Horseman, who's also in front of him in the points, sits second. That's not what Kevin wants right now. He's going to have to do something with it. Up front, though, Cooper has opened up almost a 3.5-second lead back to Potolicchio, who's got a little bit of a margin here to the red machine of Chouest, then Kermani and Workman. And the interesting thing is this Enzo going, I got to be a little patient. I need to save my tires just a little bit here. Or is it Cooper going, yeah, we've nailed this setup and I've got this covered and I'm going right now?
Greg, we were talking about how experience pays, whether it be with tire management, whether it's the setup, the strategy, and even in these short little races, having that little bit of experience really does pay off. And so we heard Enzo and Cooper talk about the fact that they've had battles before, and Enzo was a role model of Cooper, in fact.
Well, back when Enzo was doing some of that pro races in Pro-Am stuff as the Am, and was proving himself to be a globally recognized talent in the Am category, Cooper was starting to do some of those races too, and was the Am in the Pro-Am scenario. And I can totally understand it where Cooper would have said, boy, this is a guy to emulate. Look at what he's doing out there. And it shows that a talented Am driver can get out there and with the right pro teammate in a Pro-Am pairing, you can put together some good runs. Oh, big wiggle there by Chouest. And he made the save. But Kermani was thinking this might be opportunity and tried to get through, and Chouest sort of dissuaded him. The way he came back on track here. And that actually has allowed now Workman to close that gap up to that yellow machine of Kermani. Kermani was thinking, well, I've been watching Ross. He has that big swing through the Le Mans curve. Maybe I can just dive up the inside. But at a certain point, what drivers need to learn is that at a certain point when you're overtaking a driver, the driver you're passing, his eyes are no longer on the mirrors. They're looking through that corner because you've got to turn in at some point and drive that corner. And if you try a late lunge like that and you don't get it right up the inside immediately like Watt did at Laguna a couple of times, if you don't execute it that well, it's going to end in tears.
Well, as you're talking about, you drive where you look, right?
Yep.
So get out of those mirrors, look ahead. You got to figure out where that corner is, what the best line is.
You can see Workman down that long Ullman straight. Had a look at Kermani as well, but realized not quite close enough at this stage. And settled it back just a little bit. Looking at Jason McCarthy now, he's been able to open up about 4 seconds back to Centeretti. And McCarthy is actually, looking at lap times, he's right in the hunt here with those lap times of the guys in front of him. In fact, last lap ran a little bit quicker than did Jordan Workman. And I've just got this feeling right now that if Jordan can get around these two guys, he actually might have a little bit more pace right now. But that fourth car about to join the queue is your Trofeo Pirelli AM leader. Right there, popping into frame is Jason McCarthy. And he comes up. You know, he's not going to be particularly worried about, oh, these guys are duking it out in class. Jason is like, I want to show people what I can do here.
Well, remember, Jason McCarthy won in Coppa Shell and Road Atlanta twice, both times, right?
Yes.
So he is incrementally moving his way through these classes as well. To your point, potentially saying, hey, knock, guys, I want to join the Trofeo Pirelli group, the class now.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, he started the season and was the dominant guy in Coppa Shell, in Coppa Shell, and after the first two events, which means 4 races, they said, yeah, we've got to move him up. He's just too quick. And he's showing that right now as he continues to close in. And again, you see how wide that arc is that Roche West drives through the Le Mans curve, through 16 onto this back straight. And Kermani keeps looking at it and going, can I just stuff it up the inside there? As we take a look here at McCarthy in that wide world Ferrari machine. And, you know, he had just a stunning event at Circuit of the Americas where he got his first win in Trofeo Pirelli AM. Then had a bit of a problematic run in the 2 races at Monterey, and then has come back with a vengeance here with that huge win yesterday, and doing it once again as he just continues to stretch that margin over Centeretti. There he is as he pops into view. And behind him is Brent Holden, who's been able to get around now on Dave Musial.
It's interesting about Brent. I would be curious to know the difference of that car setup for qualifying, because he seems extremely comfortable in qualifying. And this race setup for him just seems a little bit different. And you said it, he's smooth, he's tidy. That's the kind of driver Brent Holden is. So you're curious how that is in motion with the car right now.
Well, like I said, you know, this is a track with all the bumps and all the nuance and all the challenges. Smooth is good because you take less out of the tires when you're a nice, smooth driver. I think that Brent has the speed, and looking at some of the times here, you know, he's turning some pretty good laps. Just that he somehow got dropped at the start, and everybody shot through on him. And it could be as simple as he got trapped up on the outside, and everybody just shot through underneath going into turn 1. We didn't really see it. But nonetheless, it's cost him a bit here because he had the speed, certainly, to be in play for this one. But tell you right now, in terms of pace, looking at some of these last laps, watching what Jason McCarthy's doing. And he is running laps right now about a half to 3/4 of a second quicker than everybody else in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class right now. As we go back to Coppa Shell, there's Booth leading. There's Horseman in second. Schreibman still runs third. Sorry about that.
No. Remember, you know, Booth yesterday was on pole, finished second. He's kind of probably out thinking, hey, I got the fast car. I'm going to make sure I put it on top of the box this time. I ate that McDonald's on Friday.
Exactly. Got that oomph right there. And there is Schreibman, the pole sitter, and he put in a mega lap and led up to that caution. He got a good start, led up to the caution, and on that restart, he just got shuffled back a little bit, and it's clearly knocked him off his rhythm just a smidge, because right now he's dropped off by a little bit here. Not a ton, but a little bit here.
Well, to add to that 163, he said today in qualifying, that was really fun. Yesterday with that finish, not so much. He finished 5th. He said that they have had some issues throughout the weekend. They had a battery issue, they ran out of gas a couple of times, actually. So Jay Schreiben's team, that's why this morning's qualifying sitting on pole was such a celebration for them. And he's just now putting all the laps together.
Speaking of putting stuff together, Jordan Workman now has gone around on Kermani. You see that black Ferrari. He has made the pass. That moves Workman now up into the 4th spot. And we'll see if he's got a way to get around Roche West. But in Kermani's mirrors now, it is being filled by Jason McCarthy, who is flying right now. Oh, and look at this. This is Holden attacking on Centeretti. What a move by Brent. Centeretti was startled. You can see his reaction when Brent came up to try and go around the outside of him. And now Centeretti, you can try and drive that outside line through there, but you can see how loose he got and was very close to that track edge. in trying to counter and stay with Brent Holden, but that was a stunning move by Brent as they came up and got through Cunningham Corner, and he made that pass at Collier. Wow, what a move. That's going to push Brent right back up into second. And this is one of those scenarios where Brent gets that move done, and again, with as smooth as he drives, by the end of the race, his tires are off and in really good shape as Musial runs just a little bit wide there, trying to stay with these guys.
You wonder how much of that right now is, the car and some of that damage that he had from earlier laps.
We have another class leader mixing it up with the class above. You see the number 144 of Jim Booth as he's moving up onto the back of Dave Musial. As we see McCarthy here now hounding Kermani. Kermani trying to stay with Jordan Workman. The problem for Jordan is as long as Kermani keeps hounding him like this, it's going to allow Ross West to stretch his margin, which he's done. He's up the road by a couple of seconds now. Boy, this race has flown by. It's been fascinating just watching these various duels and these class leaders from the technically the lower class up running with guys in the next class above them. McCarthy doing that in Trofeo Pirelli Am, and Booth doing that in Coppa Shell. Now this is going to be interesting for McCarthy because when you're running laps that are significantly quicker than the guys in front of you, when you catch them, if you can't get by them quickly, you end up running their laps, and you end up sometimes getting into their rhythm. And then when you get the opportunity, sometimes it's tough to be able to find your rhythm back that was so quick. And that's what McCarthy's going to be dealing with here right now. This is a great section of this track. Yeah, this is one of those technical rhythm sections here, all the way from Cunningham through Collier up to Tower, where they're exiting right now.
There's a reason why the 17 turn 3.74 mile track is so iconic. So many different sections, so many different track surfaces.
Whoop, and Booth, that's your leader. That is your leader in the race, leader in the points. There goes Horseman. There went Schreiben. There goes Milstein. And Ian Campbell as well. So Jim Booth, I mean, like I said, he was right up on the back of Dave Musial. Let's see if we can pick it out here. Comes in, just missed the apex there. You can see he was wide of the apex, and he may have had a little bit of target fixation on the back of Musial there and just missed his turn in by that much. And when you're on the edge, Katie, and you run off that edge just that little bit, it's enough for that to snap around. He's got work to do now.
Ooh, no doubt about it. I wonder what's going on behind that steering wheel, what he's feeling.
Well, he's not happy for sure, and he's big concerned because, as I said, when this race started, he was only 2 points clear of Brad Horseman, and that's now going to move Horseman into the lead. And I think Booth will have rejoined back in the 5th spot. So that is a huge point swing. And Booth I think he's going to really be kicking himself over that. Now, what he has to do at this point is he's going to have that red mist, as they call it. And there are 2 ways you deal with the red mist. One is you let it get to you, and you start driving erratically. You're trying to way too hard. You push the car too much. You make more mistakes. Or you just focus that red mist and get yourself back into a zone. And we've seen the speed from him. He's got that capability. And now he's got to do some work because even if he's out of a shot at a win, which I would suggest he probably is right now with that deficit, to just make up a couple of spots if he can is huge in this points battle. So he's got to do that. And also taking a look here right now, Horseman may be leading, but Schreiben now is running laps a second quicker than Horseman is, as he has gathered things up once again. This is going to be interesting to watch, as is this. Look at this, the battle now for 3rd in the overall, and in Trofeo Pirelli, Ross West in that red Ferrari. Once Workman was able to shake Kermani, he has run Ross down. And he's been watching Kermani, watching when Ross swings out here, and that's what I was thinking about. Taking that little look, at a certain point, you might just say, if you haven't been able to figure out anywhere else to get by on that last lap, you might just stuff it down there and give it a go. The problem is, obviously, if there's contact, but even if there's not, if it slows both of you up a huge amount, then Kermani, right behind him, has the opportunity to just blow by him easily on the straight. So it's certainly better if you can figure out another place to make the pass.
Well, you said it though. You said that if Jordan could get around him, he has a quick car. He has the speed.
He's going to look to
So
the
that's-
inside here. Now way down, but you got to be, as I said, one, you've got to commit to that move, and two, you've got to be clear of him by the time you get to turn in. And you can see Jordan got up alongside, but then sort of got tentative, backed out of it just a little bit. And Ross has been doing this game for a while, and if he senses that you're a little timid with that approach, he's going to shut the door.
Yeah, it's about almost 40 races under Ross's belt, and
Yeah.
he's a true competitor, even getting third yesterday on the podium. I saw he was not happy about that third even. He wants to win. He got a taste of that in the Gudasenka, so.
Ooh, Workman got a nice run here, late on the brakes, but Ross takes it in even deeper. Oh, so close. But Jordan eventually just tucks back in as they exit the hairpin and swing through the Fangio curves. There it is. And what Jordan did right there was really smart. When he realized he wasn't going to get it done, instead of trying to race him to the apex and whatever, he just tucked right back in behind him and lost very little in terms of gap, maybe a car length. And if he tried to force the issue, he could have lost a couple of seconds. So that was smart. That was Jordan showing that he picks up on this racecraft a bit. And look at Jason McCarthy back there just filling Kermani's mirrors. And you know right now for Jason McCarthy, the Wide World Ferrari crew is going, please remember, Jason, this isn't your class. We know you want to show something here, but it might be better to just back out a little bit, let them have their battle. You've got a big lead now back to Holden of some 4 seconds with 2 minutes left. Just bring home this win. We'll see whether Jason's up to that. You can see Holden here, just the nose of his car off to the right of the screen. That's the margin. And again, Workman close. Here we go. Onto the front straight. We may have begun our last lap. McNeil and Potolicchio. Yep, white flag is out. We are on our final lap. And I'll tell you, Cooper had this one dialed here. He's got this margin up to over 11 seconds. So whatever the issues they had yesterday, he and that Ferrari Westlake team, they got those issues rectified, and Cooper has just been brilliant once again.
Earlier this week, he actually had the chance to fly Thunderbirds, and he said it was popped a wheelie and pulled 9G on his Instagram post of the Thunderbirds, and maybe he was channeling a little of that with this being an old
airport circuit, absolutely.
Who knows?
Well, he did take off.
There's no denying that.
Sorry, had to.
But ching.
Yeah, all right. Oh, once again, into the hairpin. Jordan's so close. And this is good stuff. But I'm watching, and Schreibman, he has taken a few more out of Horseman, but he's still 2.5 seconds back. That's a lot to ask on one lap. Workman again shows the nose here. Down into Cunningham into turn 10. Didn't get it done there. Now flowing through Collier curve. The quick little flick to the right through 12. Here's Tower turn. This is all about exit speed. Both of them getting out of there looked relatively equal, enough to keep Kermani at bay. McCarthy has dropped off just a little bit, I think maybe by design. Meanwhile, here comes Cooper, and he has put in a race. His best lap of the race, fast lap of the race, a 2:05.7. He's been lapping still in the 2:06s, while Potolicchio and the rest of the field in the 2:08s. So Cooper has been just absolutely dominant here, and gets another win for Cooper McNeil, just confirming his championship. He clinched it yesterday, and today gets his 10th win, along with his 11th fastest lap. That is truly stunning. Here we go. Chouest looks like he was able to hang on, and McCarthy got through on Kermani. Again, even though it wasn't for a class position, overall position, Jason McCarthy is going to win Trofeo Pirelli Am with a 5th overall finish. Oh! Right at the end, Centeretti battling with Holden, had it go wrong, gets a big spin. Wow, that was crucial here. And there is Horseman as he comes through 9th overall, bringing home a hugely important win in terms of the points battle here, with Jay Schreibman from pole dropping to 4th and recovering and coming back. See what happens here. It's behind him we're going to be paying attention to in this moment. Just taking a look, and it looked like Centeretti was trying to dive down underneath Musial. And you hit those bumps, and that's part of the problem in 17. You get off the line where the bumps are at their least, they can get radical. And you catch that just wrong, and it just unloads the car. And then natural reaction is you hit one of those bumps that you haven't hit at speed before because you're off of the normal line, and it just unloads the car. Natural reaction is to lift a little bit, and that can just exacerbate the problem. So here's a look at Enzo Portalicchio. Big win yesterday in those crazy conditions. But today, obviously, Ferrari Westlake and Cooper McNeil got it right. Enzo still gets a nice second-place finish with Chouest third, Workman fourth, and Kermani rounding out the Trofeo Pirelli field. And McCarthy getting the win with a fifth overall finish in Trofeo Pirelli Am over Holden and Musial. That's the podium. And then Horseman winning with Schreibman second and Milstein third. And with Jim Booth back in fifth, that is going to turn this points championship in Coppa absolutely on its ear. Horseman, who jumped from third to second with his race yesterday, will definitely go to the lead, and it's a matter of the point swing right now. And it should be a pretty big one here. Uh-oh, I think it's time for some pastries.
He did tell me, by the way, that he would be doing some donuts out in turn 17 if by chance he won today. So
yep.
There they are.
Well, those tires are done. They've got a few weeks before
his hands out that window.
Next round with the number one. Yep. Winning it, that is Cooper. He loves doing those victory donuts. And now he makes his way into the Parc Fermé area of the track. Wow, what a story, what a race he put on here. And I'm sure Cooper, even though obviously he was fighting a car that was ill handling with the overpressure tires and the like yesterday, getting beat by Enzo and getting resoundingly beat, I'm sure it didn't sit well with him, and he righted that today, didn't he? Look at that margin of victory there, 13.5 seconds.
Yeah, he showed up today. He ate his Wheaties this morning.
Ross West completing the podium. Workman and Kermani, the top five. Jason McCarthy winning Trofeo Pirelli Am, as I said, with a fifth overall finish. With Holden from pole in second. Musial third with the damage on the car. That's big for Dave with the situation with the points between he and Jean-Claude Sada. That third, being able to hang on with that damaged car for him was big. And then here are the rest of the finishers here. And for Kevin Milstein, that third is going to be really, really crucial at this point. It's 15 for a win, 12 for a second, and Schreibman has those second place points. Third is 10, so it's a 5-point swing. And looking to see who had fast lap, it was Booth, so he gets that point, so that'll help him a little bit. But that margin for Horseman, he came in 2 points down. It should have him up now by 3 points. And again, trying to factor in Booth's point for a fast lap. And Milstein with that third is going to close up a bit as well. So just what an entertaining race. As we said, it flew by. Here we go. McNeil has clinched already. Look at that points margin just with the season that he's put together. Just dominant. So he is your champ. And then it is 23 points between Chouest and Workman. And Joe Rubo, who's not here this weekend, sits back in the fourth spot. So Chouest and Workman, if they go to Italy for Finale Mondiale, the final 2 rounds of the North American Championship unfold there. And Workman's still in with a shot at second in this championship. Now here's where things get interesting. Look at that margin now between Musial and Sada. And it is in Dave's favor at this stage by 7 points. And he led by 3 coming in. So that's a big, big gain for him. And Jason McCarthy has closed it up with all the win points once again and fast lap as well. So a good run for him. And then this is where it's going to get interesting. All right, I had it at 5. It's actually 6. All right, there you go. So 6 points between Horseman and Booth right now. And look what Milstein did. As he came in, he was 4 points back of second spot. Now he's 3. So with Booth having those issues, Milstein's still right in it. But, I mean, look at how close it is. 9 points separating the top 3 in the championship.
It's incredible. It's incredible, and you got to think now the next round is get it done.
Absolutely, and I mean, and Jay is not out of this either. When you take a look at the points deficit he had with that finish for today in particular, 2 rounds to go. Mathematically, he's still in it. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, and it's at the start. You can see Cooper sweeping through and into the lead. And I'm watching in the background, and yes, right there you can see Brent Holman got run out wide, and then there's that bump between Sada and Musial, and I think that slowed, yeah, right there. He went to turn in and got bumped up in turn 3. That's what happened to Holden. Meanwhile, back in the pack just a little bit, some absolutely fierce action unfolding, and then this beautiful move right there by the 14 of Holden around the outside of Cunningham corner. Gave him the inside Nakata. You can see Centeretti fighting for everything here, but almost running off track. Finally had to give it up. And then Jordan Workman, this was the move, I think, where he was able to sneak through, or tried to, on Chouest. There's that almost contact there. They're side by side at this point. And Chouest was able to hang on to it. And Jordan just could not quite find the answer at the end of it as Cooper McNeil came through with a superb drive today. And I'm sure that's, you've been talking a lot about redemption this weekend. And for Cooper, this moment proved the redemption here as he was just laying down some donuts here. So delighted with that win. So, wow. What a race we've had, and that wraps up our coverage here of this final round in North America, with 2 more yet to go in Italy for Ferrari Challenge North America, the Trofeo Pirelli Am, and Coppa Shell divisions. Thank you so much for joining us here at the legendary Sebring International Raceway. For Katie Osborne, I'm Greg Creamer. It's been a treat having you with us. Thank you so much.